of you.
I don't know if you guys know who these people are. I don't know. I'm not seeing much enthusiasm.
Vaguely.
All right, so without further ado, let's welcome Lennie James.
And I think we have Josh Mikel back there too. Welcome.
Hello.
See, I'm a trained actor. This is weird. You couldn't be me, right?
You know how to project, don't you? Yes.
I gotta take a couple love from you, Lennie. I can't project my voice like that.
Breathe.
Fair
It's all
enough.
about breathing.
Yeah, there you go. So, Josh, how many times have you been to the camp? Because I know this isn't your first time.
Yeah, I think this is my third or fourth.
That's what I was thinking. And Lennie, this is the first time, right?
This is absolutely my first time.
Oh, good. But yeah, you're lying. I was glitter coffee and you're lying already. Going, you're a busy man. That's good. Busy. So we know this will be a fun dynamic, these two. You know where we're going with this, right?
Oh, yeah.
So to do some prep work, Ryan and I, we watched the kill scene and the hallucination scene. Just refresh our brain on that. And if you haven't watched that in a while, go back and look at those because they're outstanding.
And it's funny because we've had Josh on our podcast quite a few times in the past, and we were watching the hallucination scene, and one of the first things I said to Renee was, "That's not Jared." I said, "That's Josh having fun with it." Anybody that knows him knows he had fun with that scene.
Great thing at Jared always directed that he was saying it's a lot like American Werewolf in Paris.
Yep.
I was like, what do you think of this? He was like American Werewolf in Paris. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think at one point you were like, "You can't die, right? Have you tried it?"
So yes, very good. We loved it.
How was that scene for you guys filming that together? Did you guys have some fun with that, or was that kind of like a one and done and didn't think about it again?
No, we had some fun, actually. It was good. I mean, it's one of those really tricky scenes because if you're killing someone, chances are their time on the show is up. and it was we had a good time together and hung out and working together was good, and it was a shame to see Josh go, really. And but he got a good death. We kept saying that. We kept saying, got a good death, got a good out. And because that was one of the things we would talk about on the show is if you go out, who do you want to go out like? And my favourite one was Siniqua. When I was like, that's how I want to go out. I want to burst out of a coffin.
Morgan is not allowed to die.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Okay.
One thing that I noticed about that scene that I hadn't noticed the first two times that I've done my walking dead, playthrough was when you're pulling Josh through the grate and the walkers are coming up behind him. You're pulling him so hard that it's actually slicing skin off. And I thought that was such a cool detail because it really showed the aggression that Morgan was feeling in that moment and what he was going through. So I thought that was such a cool but small but significant part of that scene.
And I also thought it was kind of the culmination of what he said when he leaves Carol.
Yep.
He says, "I'm just going to kill them all. And I'm just going to keep going." And it was that. This is it. And because of where he ends up and the decision that he makes at the end of that series, that moment is one of the moments that stayed with him and was part of his impetus to get out of Dodge.
Yeah, and I know that was shown later on in the scene also when you were walking up towards Andy, and he said something to you, and you didn't answer him, and you just stabbed one of the walkers with the staff, and you just kept walking, and I was like, Morgan is checked out at this point. He's done.
And so for Josh, you to feel like a lot of actors like to come back as a walker or whatever. How was that? I mean, I think it was amazing, but from your perspective, how was all that?
Incredible. I mean, because when I got on the show, you don't expect to come back. I thought that was it, and I gave this behind the scenes, whatever EPK kind of thing was just crying my eyes out because I was leaving the show and had such an amazing time and got you do get close to these folks that you're spending so much time with, and it's like a summer camp. And then to leave, I was emotional about it, and then I get a call like 3 days later, like, hey man, would you like to come back? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And, luckily enough, the scene was with everybody else. I had never worked with Norman. Was lucky to work with Lennie and Lennie the whole time, pretty much from my first episode through. But had never worked with a bunch of that group, and just to be in the scene, wasn't really working together. We were exclusive for that thing, but to get to say, thanks to everybody. And I had a really amazing time leaving set. I got to say goodbye to Andy too. And he was walking back because we were shooting really close to the set for that scene, and he was walking back, and I got to say thanks and for being creating such an amazing culture for that show.
Well, you're the character we love to hate, so
Rather be passionately hated than passionately forgot.
Exactly.
No, we didn't forget. We didn't forget.
I know Lennie touched on it earlier, and I think I can speak for a lot of us when I say that when we see a character on screen that we thought we would never see again, similar to what happened with Stephen Ogg, right? When we saw him in the flashback scenes, that was such a cool, feeling, because when I remember watching the episode with you guys, I didn't expect it. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, Josh.
Yeah.
That was very cool, very cool to see.
Do you have any question for Lennie?
Oh, I was like, which one? I have no questions.
Yeah.
So, one thing I like to do, and I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm sorry, I'm not calling it X. Just saying. I like to peruse Twitter because I like to see what the fandom is thinking, because it can be overwhelmingly one thing, or you could have 18 different perspectives, and it's always a unique perspective. Did you see that? I'm sure you did. That a lot of people expected that Morgan was going to be the cameo in The Ones Who Live.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about that?
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on social media at all. I think it's an obvious question for people to ask, and I will not comment any further.
All right.
Good answer. Good answer. Don't get me excited. Yeah. Don't get me excited. Right.
Literally making no comment.
Yeah. But no comment is a comment. Okay. No comment is a comment.
I'm saying, let's move on.
So, a question for both of you guys. What has been your favorite Walking Dead experience so far? And what has been your favorite fan interaction? Has someone given you something, like a piece of art or something that's meant a lot to you, that's kind of stuck with you?
You got a lot more to sort through. I can go through it.
It's tricky to say the fan experience that most means a lot, because it was incredibly personal to the person who and it's very emotional, and it's Saturday and I don't want to cry. But I am often moved and surprised by how important this show is in our fans' lives, and we are and have been the entire time on the show so grateful to our fans for the response that they have to the show. And when you have those interactions, and it's the one that comes to mind because it was incredibly personal, and it was to do with a big moment in their life and why both the show and the stance that Morgan takes was important for this particular person. But my most, and there's loads of moments on the show that are big memories, but I think I was talking to Stephanie, my handler, about it yesterday, and I just mentioned it, and so it's the first one that pops into my mind. Screening episode 1 of season 6 in Madison Square Garden in front of 19,000.
Yes.
I will never forget that. That is not something you expect for an hour of television. And when they introduced me and I walked out on stage, the wall of noise that kind of came back at me from the fans, I remember looking out and seeing my wife and one of my daughters, and they just went.
All this for him?
Have you met? Yeah, that was, you could not make it up. And if I hadn't experienced it and someone told me that it had happened, I would tell them that they were lying.
That's amazing.
What about you, Josh?
The day, I think, I'd auditioned for the show 14 times before I got it.
Whoa,
wow.
Yeah, I started auditioning in season 3, and talking about the death, I was a walker. My roommate at the time was a costume assistant, and she told me about a rush call. I came down for season 2, breaking into Herschel's farm, and the horde breaks into the farm or whatever, crashes through the gates. So I was, I came down for that, and I was a walker in season 2, and then, auditioning for the show, knowing that it was continually picking up steam, and was so, I think when it came out, obviously people didn't really give it a lot of hope.
Yeah.
And to see what it did to Atlanta, and I'm from Georgia, from 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, and to see what it did for the state was just amazing. So to wind up on the show after auditioning for so long, and then to be in a scene with, I told Lennie this the first day, but like Snatch is one of my favorite movies, and talking about that, yeah, it's just bananas. That show, that movie is so good. I spent like 30 minutes quoting it the other day. It's like, whatever. The country spot, fucking language, nobody speaks it. But yeah, to go to legendary, come again. Yeah, but it's just like, so to get to work with Lennie and someone that I appreciate, but then everybody else there was all new, so there wasn't a lot of nerves, I think, because we were all kind of showing up on the show at the same time. So my first episode was amazing, and then getting to go out with such an amazing death was amazing. I'll say amazing again. No, it really was just special. Just a full circle. I'd always, when you talk about dying on the show, I'd always said, like, I want to get mauled by Sheba, chopped in half by Jerry, or, the writing that should that Morgan would be the spot, and that's how it happened, and it was amazing just to be sent off like that, because some people die off screen, You're like, what happened to, whatever.
Don't even get us started.
David, he's just, he died, he's awesome. But then,
Poor Eve.
Go ahead.
Poor Eve.
Cow.
I'm gonna eat this off.
Yeah.
But then, the fan thing I always think about is, because you do these things and it feels silly to make money just to talk to people, and but I realized I'm part of a much bigger thing. The show was going on for 6 seasons before I got on it. I've done a lot of work, and no one gave a shit about that until I got locked in. So I had a fan at a convention come up and say something to the effect of, we don't do a lot together, we don't go on vacations together, we don't eat dinner together, but every Sunday we sit down and watch the show.
Yeah.
And that really brought home how special it is to people. That it is actually a family event for a lot of folks. And coming to these conventions is an extension of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Josh, I mentioned earlier that we've been friends for a couple of years now, we know each other. And I think I said this to you yesterday when I saw you, but I'm very curious. You got a haircut.
Yeah.
Is that a stylish choice, or is that for a particular reason?
Well, yeah,
I just asked him exactly that question. I'm not even joking, I asked him exactly that question just over there in the corner before we came out.
during the strike, I grew it out again, thinking like, I want to play. I love playing dirtbags every movie.
Every movie needs a dirt bag.
And it always involves a bullet for some reason.
I mean, and it's they can cut it if they want, but I booked a job that was, I guess, worth cutting. But I still get. I was telling Lennie, I read for dirtbags with long hair. I got my hair thinking I want to play like a procedural, like some nice guy, like a public defender or something, and then I end up playing more shitheads.
So you were just, okay, I watched Renfield.
Sure.
And then Keith had a small, so Keith Brooks and if you guys watched Renfield with Nick Cage. And their scenes were great. And I don't know if you were Keith that posted the behind the scenes of you guys being drug across, like, the thing. It was so fun. So it was not maybe you were really surprised, so it was Mickey. But it was really cool. It was like a behind the scenes thing. You go on a social media, have to scroll down, it's been a while. But then you were like drug on, was it like the hood of the car or something, or what? Or that was just the thing.
Yeah, I drug into this hospital where we're drugging alive, and Renfield is delivering bodies for Dracula. They're playing on Nick Cage. If y'all haven't seen it, it's a fun.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's one particular like hotel fight scene that is just like someone gets impaled. Like anything Walking Dead is gnarly. And Kirkman wrote it.
Yeah. So I just had to mention that because I love that. He had a great role with that. I mean, he was small, but it was awesome. Yeah, it was really good.
Another guy dying.
Yeah.
So Josh, one thing that we always do to prepare is we want to make sure that we're not only talking about The Walking Dead, because we not only respect you as the actors from the shows that we love, but we also know that you guys have other projects that you're working on, things like that. You've been a busy man, Josh. So I saw that you've done a couple things this year already, and that you've got some stuff upcoming. Is there anything you can tell us about the stuff that's upcoming that we can look forward to?
I'm in a show right now called Man Hunt. I play a shithead.
Shithead in a really nice suit.
Actually, Katie Irish, who did the costume on that show, is just phenomenal. But I played a real. He's a Lincoln assassination conspirator.
It's based on a national person.
He is a national person, John Surratt Jr., and he escaped to overseas during the whole thing. He was a big part of the Lincoln assassination and coordinating the event. And there's a lot about that I think has gone untold. You get kind of the cliff notes of Ford's Theater, Booth jumps out of the balcony, shoots Lincoln, sticks it for Tyrannus, and then move on. But there really is the story behind that is really incredible. And they tell a good chunk of it it's on Apple Plus. 7 episodes, easy. You can watch it in a day.
How has that experience been, different? Because I know it's one thing to play like a fictional character, something that you're not kind of basing your performance off, you're making it your own. But how has that been playing an actual historical figure where there is history to play off of and to read up on?
Yeah, I think there's a responsibility there. With someone like a Lincoln conspirator, it's wild because that whole time in America was so fraught with real meaning and it's not unlike what we're going through now. And there's a lot of division and so I think to lay into I was feeling the sense of if I lay into this guy and treat him like a villain, that's not doing the history justice. I think these people kind of go among us. A wolf in sheep's clothing in a lot of and so it's nice to have that stuff to pull from. Particularly wild to know that he got off on his crimes and died a free man at the age of 82 with 6 daughters and had a town in Virginia named after him and his family that just recently was renamed. So it's a pretty wild thing. I did play one thing. I played. I did for like one of my first roles. I did a reenactment series called Swamp Murders. That's tough, because it's not great to laugh, But when you're playing someone who actually killed someone in a swamp, and you're like, the family could watch this, Like the implications of the Lincoln assassination are still felt, but there's not people still alive that are that were Lincoln's family that were super worried about hurting their feelings or whatever. But when you're playing somebody who actually killed someone and their family is still alive and could potentially see it, that's a scary thing.
Yeah. So Lennie, I just found out, I didn't know this, I'm behind the times on some things every day, that you have a voice role in Mufasa.
Yeah, in the Lion King.
Oh.
Very big one, too.
It was really weird because, you know, animation takes a long time, so I've been doing it for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Because COVID slightly got in the way, but and I've been doing. I think I've done it on 3 different countries. Going into a studio, and it's Barry Jenkins is directing, and I play a slightly lazy lion. It's a Mufasa and Scar, well, it's mostly a Scar prequel, telling the kind of his story, how he came through, and I play a lazy lion.
And your Scar's father, like Mufasa's adopted father, is that right?
Yes.
The character? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, but it's the first kind of. It's weird because Kelvin and Aaron, who play Scar and Mufasa in it, we just did another thing for Genius where they played Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and I played Daddy King, Martin Luther King Sr. And the 3 of us were in that, and all of us had to keep quiet and not tell anybody until it was announced that we were also all doing the Lion King.
That's really cool. I just found that out this morning. I'm like, told Ryan, like, that is so cool. So
Yeah.
that's very exciting. Yeah. So do you have any things you can talk about or anything that you're going to?
I have it's a 8-part series coming out. It's an adaptation of a book called Mr. Loverman, and it's about I play a guy between the ages of 40 and 75, and he's lived with a lifelong secret, and at the age of 75 the secret is about to come out, and it's about the damage the secret has caused to his wife, family, and the damage it's done to himself, and what the repercussions are when the secret comes out.
And that's out in June, right?
It comes out in the UK in October,
Oh,
but
okay.
we've been invited to Tribeca, so it's going to be the Tribeca Film
Oh,
Festival.
nice,
Yeah. It's not, no. I mean, it's something that the book came out, I don't know, I think about 6 years ago, and it was sent to me. And in one of those situations, hadn't really happened to me before, but it was lovely, is that the writer asked for the book to be sent to me just in in case anyone was interested in making it into a series, and the BBC got it and they sent it to me, so I had 2 books, and we got a chance to make it last year.
So you have your series Save Me, and Save Me 2 was the 2nd season. I had read Dateline had posted quite a while ago that was going to come for a 3rd. Is that?
We're not doing
Okay,
that.
all right.
No.
So if you haven't watched that, he created, directed, and starred in it.
I didn't direct.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
My wife always takes the mickey out, makes fun of me because I did write it, I am the lead in it, and I did produce it, and she says, and you probably did the costume, and but it was my little baby, and I loved doing it and hanging out and having a kind of it's kind of continuing, as Josh said, the kind of way, not just the job we did on Walking Dead, but the way we got it done, and the way that Andy led the company and led the family, and trying to carry that on. I know when Sonequa went to Star Trek, we had the conversation about how she was going to do that, and I certainly did that with Save Me. I wanted people to have a good time, but to create an atmosphere where people felt they could do their best work, and that their best work was encouraged, and that what they brought to the table was as important regardless of where they appear on the call sheet. And that's what we tried to do, and we did all right.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, can be said for The Walking Dead, is that out of all the actors and actresses that we interviewed for our podcast, they've overwhelmingly always said what an amazing environment it is, that it doesn't matter if you're a series regular or if you're an extra or if you're a walker, that, you have, people like Andy who will come up to you and say, hey, I'm Andrew, how you doing? And introduce himself like you're just somebody on the street, and that's one thing I think that a lot of productions don't get that reputation, but Walking Dead really truly has, and I think that's such an amazing thing to hear from the top down. I think it's such a cool thing.
And I also think one of the things is, I mean, it's lovely and it's great. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's I mean, it's treated as special because so many people don't do it. But it's really meeting people, treating people as you would like to be met and treated isn't complicated.
Absolutely.
And the way that it quells anxiety for these young actors, speaking of our first day, you know, they set up the cast chairs and like, Lenny's looks like Renee smiling, what the fuck is going on? like I know you want to be away in his piece or whatever, you know, because you get some young actors, you know, some eager actors on set sometimes, and they're like, hey, what are you working on next? What's going on? You know, they're hungry a lot of times, but to have that kind of, you know, wall broken pretty immediately by where we were even sitting, and for, you know, when I worked with Andy, you know, you know, now Andy is like.
Yeah,
I also think that it is it does help us on the show, and I think certainly by the time I came back in season 6, the show was so huge out in the world, was so massive out in the world, that the part of the difficulty was, and particularly with younger actors, when they came on, they were playing the show that was out in the world.
Yep.
And you can't do that. That's not how you get the job done. And one of the things that we were trying to do was to introduce people to say, forget the show out in the world. Let's remember what we're doing at this particular moment, on this particular day, in this particular scene. Because we don't get this scene right, the show's not going to be good out in the world. So shut that out and come to work. And that's what we were, and that matters because everybody's involved in that. And you know, if it's off, it's going to pop.
Absolutely.
And so it was about a responsibility to the show that I think was the reason why we created the atmosphere that was there. But it was about protecting what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, Lenny, is it really it shone through that you could really truly see that translation from behind the scenes to the camera. I really did see that and feel it. So I agree 100%.
And like Josh said, when he came on, there was a whole, you know, it was the introduction of the kingdom. So there was a whole bunch of guys who all came on at the same time, and we kind of went to, it was almost like we had boot camp. It was like, we're going to have to be these people, you're going to have to do this, and you know, for Kari, because he was coming in as King Ezekiel, that's a big deal. I mean, you know, at that time, the only next big person coming in was Negan.
Yep.
And King Ezekiel was huge in the comics. So, you know, he needed time to take that on board and to create his version of King Ezekiel without the pressure of the show out in the world. So, you know, we just tried to do it calmly, tried to give him everything that he needed and supported him on the journey towards the character.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap up, but if we can maybe get 1 or 2 questions, if I know she has one.
You don't even need that.
Good morning, Lennie. Good morning, Josh. Good morning. I must know, what are the things you watched as a child that comforted you, that you can continue to watch to this day? Just any moment you can just turn it on, lay back with a blanket, a glass of tea. What are those things? Film, television, play, anything?
I'm a huge fan of Hill Street Blues.
Oh,
I have no idea what that is.
Hill Street
she's
Blues.
young. She don't know what that is. She's young. She a baby.
Hill Street Blues is the show that made
Yes.
all the other shows.
Yes.
Hill Street Blues taught television how to make procedural drama.
Yes.
What year did it come out?
It was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
I wasn't
You weren't even born yet.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but it may have dated. But Hill Street Blues is my
It's a
go-to.
TV show?
It's a TV
Yeah.
show.
Yes.
I'll watch it.
And the cast looked like, it was just amazing. It was amazing. The acting was amazing. The way it was shot, everything about it was. And I just it's the first time I've done it, but I just rewatched The Wire.
That's been on my list. See, I turned to 96. Y'all ain't gonna
Me
jump
and
me.
my wife just rewatched The Wire, and actually forgot how good it is.
Yeah.
And how phenomenal it is, but also how
There's so
many
many-
of them. I keep going, oh, of course, Chad. And there's Seth. Everybody's
Seth is in it.
Seth is phenomenal. Seth is so fantastic in it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So those are the things that kind of come to mind, and the West Wing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
I love Antiques Roadshow.
That's a good show. Antiques Roadshow.
Yes.
What road show?
Antique Roadshow.
Oh,
It's a good show.
That's my comfort.
That's a good
And
one.
then last night the Hotel Fargo came on. Whenever that movie comes on, it's not really like a curl up of like movie.
Yeah.
It's like instant.
All right.
Wow.
Maybe one more question? You want to go there?
Oh.
Hello. My question is for Lennie. So for us, we also do a podcast and we talk about The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. And the episode where you went back to King County and we saw what actually happened with Dwayne and all of that, that was such an emotional episode. And I want to know, how was it going back to finish that part of Morgan's story and to kind of reveal to us, you know, details that we had no clue about? Because everybody, I think I speak for all of us when we said we assumed that Dwayne was dead. So to go back and see that and to see the emotional journey that Morgan has to go through, not just with his first family, but with the second family and what happens, how was it going back to that, you know, to that emotional headspace?
It's a weird one, really. I needed a lot of convincing that was the way that we should or that we could end that chapter of Morgan's story.
Okay.
When the showrunners, the writers first brought me the idea of this is what we're thinking of going back to King County, I was like, no, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. It's like, I don't know, it's like remaking Forrest Gump or, you know, you're just like, just leave it alone. It was fine. It was great. Leave it alone. It's out there. It's a moment. Leave it. But I think that was mostly just because I was not feeling brave enough to tackle what was kind of going on there, and not wanting it to be a repeat of something that we had done before. If we weren't adding something to the story, then I didn't want to do it. If it was just about, my big worry was it was about gimmick. It got gimmicky.
Right.
Yes.
So you would kind of go, oh look, there's that. Oh look, there's that. But actually, because it was, as you say, revealing new information, and that it was, you were finding out things that Morgan was holding on to, memories that he had, choices that he had made, and that they were revelations. Like, one of the things that had been eating away at him was the fact that he didn't kill his son like he hadn't killed his wife, and what the consequences of that were.
Yeah.
And it was about, there was something affirming about it. It was something about, I need to go back so I can go forward. And,
Heal.
And that was the bit that was really important to me.
It was an amazing, it was one of the best episodes of that final season. It was like, just really,
But we worked hard on that one because I've said it before, but I'm incredibly protective of Morgan's legacy, and I knew that was going to be part of it, so we needed to get it right.
yes. Well, you did. You most definitely did.
Right.